there's a pretty big change, right? And that big change just about predates my lifetime. So I was born more or less at the end of that really steep downhill part. So for my entire lifetime, and I don't want you to figure out how old I am, but for my entire lifetime, birth rates have been really basically bouncing around 2 or just below 2. And so what people have to do if they're going to sort of unlock the mystery of what's happening here, you have to go back that far. You don't want to look at like COVID, right? That's just too recent. And you don't want to look at the great financial crisis. So there was a downward inflection there. And you don't want to look at the China shock. And you don't want to look at sort of post 1970s immigration. You really have to go earlier. All right. So in case you were just wondering, and I'm just going to give you like a little bit of a fast-paced overview of other things, the world has passed peak child. Just a little tidbit there. So there's no more growing number of children in the world. The total number of children that will ever exist in the world is declining. We think that was around 2017 or so. So the total number of people in the world is still growing, but the total number of children, we've passed the peak number of children. The overall peak population, we think we've passed, we think that is coming sooner than we used to think. So John Murdoch, who writes for the Financial Times, he's somebody, if you're really interested in this topic, you should follow his work. He's always got really interesting things to say. But this article, he showed up to say, kind of every time we try to figure out when the world is going to hit its peak and then decline, we always get it wrong, and we keep getting it wrong. So now we think maybe the peak number of people for the world will be, probably in that, 10 billion range, and that is going to come a lot sooner than we thought. Let me also say this: many people blithely suppose that if sort of we aren't having enough children, that probably some people somewhere else are having enough children. So this is a common thing that you hear. You used to hear it a lot more often, and people are starting to realize now that like Elon Musk says this all the time. So now people, I think, are it's a big megaphone. But that picture that you see, those are the only remaining places in the world where there are sort of very high birth rates. So really just a couple of countries that do not contain very many people. Actually, those are not very populated countries in the middle of sort of sub-Saharan Africa. And really just in the middle there. And those are fast collapsing. The rest of the world, that light green color, you were looking at somewhere between, 1 and 2, maybe 3 births at most. And there's only a couple places where it's above 3. So really, actually, the deal is not just is the United States not having very many children anymore, but nobody anywhere is having very many children anymore. And so that's kind of shocking. No one really knows, by the way, how low birth rates could go. And, I'm actually not a doomer on birth rates, and I'll tell you why at the end. But, in South Korea, the number is below 1, like it's 0.7, maybe 0.7. And in the city of Seoul, it's like 0.5. So, these numbers can go a lot lower. If you're thinking like, well, surely at some point the human race will not reproduce. We're not actually so sure about that anymore. So the birth rates could go very low. Here is one final look at this. And this is just a quick pass. Your best source for just quick data, if you're looking for the data on this, is a website called Our World in Data. It's a wonderful collection on all kinds of topics. And this is just a quick look at this kind of sense of not only are birth rates low and going lower, but the pace, I would call this the pace of convergence. So how is it that birth rates converge? What do you mean by that? Well, okay, this is the way to think about this. In 1800, I showed you that graph before, and I don't know if anyone really saw the endpoints. In 1800, in the United States, the typical woman, this is like an estimate. It doesn't make any sense. It's an estimate. It was like 7 or 8 births per woman. So TFR for about 7 in 1800. When I was born in the middle of the 1970s, that's what it looked like in Mexico. Today, the TFR in Mexico is lower than the United States. So what that means, this is what we call convergence. What that means is it took the United States 200 years to do what Mexico did in less than 50. And that's what we're seeing around the world. Is like when you start doesn't really matter, but what happens is the countries that were having more babies before, they caught up really quickly. So if you're sitting here thinking, well, like China or India, these are huge countries and they're having tons of babies, right? No, wrong. So they're all below replacement. Yeah, so India, people are not really sure. The statistics aren't great, but they're right around replacement. I think they're right below. Some people think they're right above. China's below replacement. China's total population is already shrinking. So, so actually, like, everywhere you look, they're low and they're going lower and they're converging really quickly. All right. So this is sort of why people are doing this. They're having these conferences, as Jacob mentioned, about birth rates. So I've screenshotted for you there the one that was held here. Austin's become kind of a place where a lot of people talk about this, and this natal conference has happened 3 or 4 times in Austin. But I've also screenshotted for you there kind of the way that sort of mainstream media continues to treat the topic, which is like these are collaborations of like far-right people who want to sort of like ruin the planet and ruin everybody's lives by getting everybody to have lots and lots of babies, and it's going to be a Handmaid's Tale. And so that's sort of what's happening. Okay, so but given all of the things I mentioned, it's not really that surprising that a lot of people who are interested in kind of solving problems and thinking about the future, certainly people who are entrepreneurs and think about selling stuff to people in the future, they're really interested in like, well, how many people will there be to sell stuff to in the future? So it's not really very surprising. And in a minute, I'm going to tell you why it would make sense for political types to be concerned about this as well. If I had $5 for every journalist who's called me on the phone in the last year and said, tell me about the pronatalist movement. And then the answer I give them is there is no movement. And what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is what I'm about to explain to you. There are sort of 4 poles, and I'll get to the 4. I'm going to give you 2 to start with, one axis and another axis. And it's not sort of the one you're thinking about, but there are 4 poles of things you can think about when it comes to births. And these 4 poles don't all get along. They're really very, very different. And so there's no movement because there's not like a single school of thought on this. The only thing maybe people are united on is there aren't enough births to kind of carry forward the type of lifestyle we've had. All right, so there are 2 axes roughly. And anytime you do this is like a model, you're summarizing some stuff, we're going to lose some stuff. One axis is how people who are involved in pronatalism think about how families should add people, right? So we've got like, okay, so the typical household of 1.5 people, how should families grow? And so you have this family formation axis, I'll call it that. And I've drawn it here, I really should have done it the other way around. On the left-hand side of the screen, you should have been on the right. On the left-hand side, there's a kind of traditional view of how families should be formed. And just think of everything you're thinking about. Traditional morality, man-woman marriage, a man and a woman should have children, and that's like a good way for babies to get born and to come into families. Well, what's the other end of the spectrum? Well, it used to be, right? The whole problem used to be one of preventing birth. So it's the family planners, right? So people who did family planning, these are the people who 100 years ago were still really interested in eugenics. All right, well, what's eugenics? Like sort of making sure that the right people get born. We still have these people, and they're still on that side of the axis. But now they're interested in getting more births. So you have the genetic selection people, some of the Silicon Valley types. They're interested in, surrogacy would be fine. I mean, there's like any way you can, we can do artificial wombs, let's do artificial wombs. And you hear this. This is the whole left side. Now it's on my graph, it's the right side. It's the progressive side of how families should add numbers to families, right? Do you see the spectrum? All right. And so you've got both of these people at the NatalCon. They don't get along, right? So by the way, it's because of this difference that the some of the pronatalist types who are on the trad family side, they've started to say, we're not pronatalists, we're pro-family. And you'll hear this. And when this is why they're doing this, you're saying, well, we're not just for any kind of births, we're for specific kinds of births, ones that are coming into traditional marriage. All right, so that's the one axis. And then you have another axis, and you're going to enjoy this one. This one, I think I also drew backwards. It's okay. When I give you the 4 quadrants, it's correct. And this is on the one end, so this is the national formation side. We have household formation or family formation and then household formation. And so this is different views, different ways you can think about how nations should add numbers, right? And so one obvious view is like, well, if you're not having enough babies, you just open the border and like invite a lot of people in, right? All right, well, like some people do believe that. We had some really genuinely open borders types at the NatalCon. Okay, like seriously open board, like people who actually argue there should be no checkpoints, there should be no papers, there should be nothing. Does anybody who could get onto the country, that should be fine. And on the other have what I would call the national conservatives or the NatCons, right? And these guys are like, no, 100% not. This is not how this goes. We need to have, very, very strict immigration policies, kind of more of a closed society, anti-immigration, and emphasizing national identity, right? So those two poles don't have a lot in common. Like they sort of agree, like we need more people, but they don't have anything in common about how we should get there. And so all of these are so now. If you want to put these guys together, and I just tried to do this. This is hot off the presses, guys. It hasn't been tested anywhere yet, but it's loosely. No, it's more than loosely accurate. So you can try to put these two quadrants, these two axes together, and you get these four quadrants. And this is sort of largely. I tried to put people in there that you would recognize. Okay, so now I've done it correctly. So like the traditional family people are on the right. All right, so they're on the right, and the progressive family people are on the left. So like, where's Elon Musk? He's sort of an analyst. He's interested in life verse. Well, he's definitely in the upper left quadrant, right? Because he's like clearly into surrogacy. He doesn't have any issues about like what kind of marriage you have or not a marriage. Doesn't care at all. He's more of an open borders guy. He's not an open borders guy, but he's certainly more like we need more immigration, good immigration, he'll say, high skilled immigration, he'll say. So he's sort of over there. Who's in the bottom left? Oh, that's like loosely the less religious side of the NatCons, because the NatCons are like split down the middle on religion. So that's kind of Orrin Cass, and I've just moved Orrin a little closer to the middle, because he'd probably say he's still in favor of traditional marriage, but he doesn't care much about it. On the other side of the bottom, you have kind of like the Heritage Foundation. Is anybody watching? They had like a Manhattan Project for Births. It just came out, so that's going to be fun. And that's like Yoram Hazony, the NatCons, Patrick Deneen, like the post-liberals. They're down there. Right? I mean, they're post-liberals. They're not national liberals. The national liberals are above the line. And then in the top right-hand side,
Hello everybody, my name's Dan Henschel, and this is a potato. And in this video, I am going to be so
in all these Hilton Honors points, I could stay for free. The Waldorf Astoria, the Maldives. What about Canopy Paris? No matter, babe.
When you want points that can take you anywhere, anytime, it matters where you stay. Hilton, for the stay.
enemies on their way. This is a bomb site. Legendary. No. What's up, someone? Welcome to Frosty Cosmics 2026 ESO Rescue. What's up, I'm Zero.
Hi. Have we met? I feel like we have. I had a feeling. I feel like we have to. Interesting. How am I? I'm good. What about you? Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you want to know why your ex is afraid to tell you the truth, and you want to know if he's seeing someone right this moment. Going by the cards that you got, Four of Cups being reversed shows that he is shying away from you right now, as you've said. Page of Pentacles shows that he's currently eyeing someone else. So I would say that this is an indicator that he is seeing someone right now. But Three of Swords being in the final position does indicate something quite ominous about this whole thing. It seems as though he won't have enough closure with you, and so he will double back and try to fix things with you. So I would look out for that in the future. If you want further information about what to expect from him, as well as your compatibility with each other and what options will work best for you, you can give me a call or send me a message. My God, I did my voice memo. Life stressful but getting better. What's been happening?
To the card, 9 of dust. Mongoose in the corner, fighting their way out. Blocks a TP. Okay, punishes the air block. Already with bated breath here to see how this round goes out.
Feels a little hot. Nightmares leading to headaches. That's no good. What's been happening in the nightmares?
In 1989, Capcom released their very first arcade to feature an American IP. Based off the feature film Willow, Capcom gave the IP new life in a different medium after a disappointing box office run. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Arcade Economy, the series where we take a look at old arcade classics to determine just how much
Spirits hitting me with pipes and burning me? Jeez. I mean, I was definitely fighting monsters in my dream yesterday, but they've never broke out the pipes on me. Good Lord. I wonder why they would even do that to you. Yeah, I'm always doing something crazy in the dream world. But it sounds like you're not very protected if they're just giving you a beat down like that. They told me not to recite the Quran. Well, I wonder why they would say that. Very interesting.
The arcade business was booming in the late 80s. With the 90s on the horizon, Japanese studios were searching for new ways to connect with Western players. And they found their answer in licensing. Studios began snapping up rights to Western IPs, kicking off a trend that would generate massive revenue for the industry over the course of the next decade. Data East and Taito set the template in 1988 with RoboCop and Superman. Even though American IPs had been adapted in the arcade before, these were the games that got the industry thinking that path for a global hit might be compelling. Game designer Yoshiki Miyamoto agreed with this strategy, believing that while hardcore gamers loved Capcom's original creations, the characters were often a bit too niche to capture these broader mainstream American audiences. So Capcom went shopping and snagged the license for the George Lucas fantasy epic Willow. While the beat 'em up genre was starting to gain popularity, Capcom decided to adapt Willow into something more fulfilling, a platformer similar to Yoshikawa's or Mega Man.
How am I? I'm good. I am very good. It's been a little weary. I've had a client who's been like having like 3 to 4 hour calls with me every night, but I think I'm finally slightly recovering. And because I like talking to her, it's just really rough since it would go on till like 5 a.m. Can you have a card? A card about what exactly?
Well, it's certainly something. The arcade game follows the narrative of the movie pretty accurately, I imagine. But to get the full story, you probably would have need to see the evil Queen of Morta learns of a prophecy. A child with a specific root birthmark will be born to bring about her downfall. And this, she imprisons all pregnant women in her domain. When the prophesied baby, Lord Ganon, is born, her mother convinces a midwife to smuggle the child out of the castle. The baby is sent to the river just before Knockflower Hounds kill the midwife. The baby is found by Willow Hutton, a farmer and aspiring sorcerer. Tasked with returning the child to its people, Willow sets out on a quest to deliver Lord Ganon safely to a human family. With 15 soldiers in pursuit, Willow comes across a rogue swordsmith, Pat Mardigan, who assists the two in their journey. The game gives you the basic rundown and the track road continues the story with cutscenes between lines.
Me and my father run a food truck, and everyone got a spot for the Cherry Blossom Festival. What? Where are you to have cherry blossoms? Or are you like in Japan?
I don't know. The game features 6 levels, each of which is pulled directly from scenes in the movie. Level 1 starts off with Willow leaving this village. Level 2 emulates the tavern and chase scene. Level 3 was taken from a deleted rowboat scene where Willow encounters a monstrous fish. Level 4 is an ice-themed level that adapts the sled chase and includes my favorite scene from the movie.
Washington, D.C. reservations. Oh. Okay. So you didn't get a spot for the Cherry Blossom Festival. So what else?
When I got to this part of the game, I was wondering if they were going to include this, and it did not disappoint. Level 5 is the Battle of Tierra-Sleep Castle, and Level 6 is the final assault on Beta Morta's stronghold.
Will we get one?
Whoever runs out, you'll lose a life. As mentioned previously, the game is an action platformer and can be played with 2 players. Unlike most platformers,
It looks pretty good for you.
Mario style rather than
I think
because of this, I don't have 2-player data for this game.
you should expect to have a spot.
Depending on the level, players will switch between playing as Willow or Medvark, with level 5 giving you the option to pick between the two. Each character plays differently. Willow uses projectile attacks, while Medvardigan is more of a melee counter. The cabinet features 2 buttons, attack and jump. Holding down and jump will cause players to slide to dodge attacks and projectiles, and holding down the attack button will charge it up for more power. It's widely agreed upon that this mechanic
Yeah, it sounds like it'll be fun. You should take pictures.
wouldn't debut in that series until Mega Man 4's release in 1991. In some stages, you can find brownies, the 9-inch tall fairy-like creatures who act as allies on your behalf. However, I missed these in my playthrough and only found out about this later when I was doing the research. The game also has you collecting coins after opening chests and defeating enemies.
Yeah, send me some.
Coins can later be used in shops to upgrade your abilities, increase your health, or buy temporary enhancements. The shop mechanic was new for arcades. We had seen it before in games like Wonder Boy, but Willow did help popularize the mechanic, and it became a staple in future Capcom games like Dungeons & Dragons Power of Doom. Then Mardigan's attack upgrades give him more power and range, while Willow's give him a bunch of different magical abilities. These include Moonlight, crescent-shaped glass, tornado, a cyclone that moves at a slightly upward angle, gold, an attack that insta-kills most weaker enemies, time, which freezes time for a few seconds, explosive, sets a fiery blast in front and behind Willow, and crystal, protective barrier that can also damage enemies. Now, this was my first time playing Willow, and I usually don't do a lot of research into the game before playing it, because I want to emulate that experience of being able to go into the arcade for the first time and seeing the game. So I didn't really know what I needed to.
I'll give you $250 if business is good. Can I do anything special? Well, what do you want? That's special. I could do a lot of things.
It's also worth noting that when you upgrade your attack, your basic attack increases as well, and you can use all previous upgrades by releasing the button once your meter hits a certain level. When you die, the game doesn't allow you to immediately pick up from where you perish. You will get sent back to a checkpoint, although I do think that they are very generous with the amount of checkpoints per level. Still, it forces you to get good in order to progress onward. I think where players really might get stuck in Willow is if you get later into the game but haven't purchased enough permanent upgrades to progress. It just becomes a lot harder with the cards stacked against you. Throughout the game, you'll face several bosses and sub-bosses, a handful of which are Capcom originals. The first sub-boss is the Bright Maid Mage, and jump attacks work pretty well. The first stage boss is the Mutant Death Knight, a massive, screen-filling version of the wolf-like knockoff hounds seen in the film. It attacks by lunging and breathing fire. I found it best to just keep your distance.
Can you do like a super dangerous spell with a good outcome and no problems? I don't know about dangerous. I mean, what would you want that would be dangerous exactly? Are you like trying to take someone out?
Like that is probably the easiest way to beat him. On level 4, you'll fight the sub-boss with Panda, the yellow dragon. He's pretty easy, just keep your distance so you don't get burned, and then charge up your attack and then jump attack. General Sorsha is the next boss fight.
Competition.
So I found it best to charge up your attack.
Oh, so you want to take them out. I see what you're getting at.
Charge attack and slide underneath her.
I don't think that would be a very good thing to do.
Boss fight is the two-headed embers. Again, keep your distance and jump attacks for the win. Then finally, level 6, we'll see you fight off against the sub-boss General Kale and Big Bad Big Bad Lord. For Kale, study his patterns, especially his jumps, and then, when the time is right, spring your attack. For Bad Morda, I actually found that spamming attack worked better than charging it up. When she gets to about half health, she'll start floating around and animate objects in the room. Use your tornado attack to hit her in the air and then And now it's time to answer the question, how much did I spend to beat Willow? At the end of my play,
1 year we made like $12K on God in one day. That must be some good food. It's making me hungry.
It took me 1 hour and 52 minutes to beat Willow. There was a boss that I got stuck on for a pretty large amount of time, and we'll get into that. But that factors out to just under 11 cents per minute. So looking at my beat 'em up data, most of those games kind of average around 12 cents per minute. So this comes in just right underneath. For the bosses, I spent 25 cents or 1 continue on the Mutant Death Dog, a whopping $4.50 or 18 continues on Caliban. Like I said, this boss gave me the most trouble. 25 cents or 1 continue on the Panda, 50 cents or 2 continues on General Sorsha, 25 cents or 1 continue on Embers, 25 cents or 1 continue on General Kale, and $1.25 or 5 continues on Queen Belmort, bringing my boss total to $7.25. Side note, I almost gave up on Caliban and just started the game over, believing that it would have been easier to beat.
Simple foods, ice cream, smoothies, bubble teas, milkshakes, hot dogs, pretzels, pizza, plus cheeseburgers. Ugh, I feel my stomach squeezing. What's your food truck called?
There's definitely a learning curve to this game, especially when it comes to which items and upgrades you should be purchasing in the shop. I didn't really notice any like AI cheating or super unfairness in this game. However, I do feel like a lot of the enemies were strategically placed against you, especially the ones that threw projectiles, like the archers or the bombers. There were
New
some
York
levels
soft
where
ice
you had to do
cream.
platforming and also kind of dodge them, and there wasn't really an easy way to kill them. You can avoid these projectiles, but it certainly isn't easy. It is definitely possible to once you see this game with enough practice. There's also this labyrinth level near the end of the game where you play as Medvardigan, and you have to go through a series of doors, and if you select the wrong door, you'll have to start that portion of the level over again, which does seem a little cheap. The game's pretty difficult until you get over that learning curve, but the gameplay feels exceptionally smooth and runs great. Visuals and graphics are really nice too. Pickups are mostly in the form of gold. I think there was maybe one or two times where I did notice a health potion drop, but the game really wants you to collect the gold and then spend that gold in the shop for items and upgrades. The continue system is not the worst that I've seen. Sure, you can't just quarter feed your way through the game. It does have this checkpoint system if you do choose to continue, which I feel is pretty generous, but you do run the risk of getting caught in a loop similar to the way that I did with Caliban if you don't upgrade your abilities properly. Overall fun factor, Willow is a great game, and it is the first time that I've played this, the first time that I've actually explored a platformer on Arcade Economy, and a huge shout out to those who suggested it.
I told my dad, let's raise the prices. We were charging 10 per order minimum, some 15.
Well, but this was not an easy game. The learning curve, difficulty and continue system, and some of the level design choices is what drove this up for me. So with all of that said and done, and throwing it into the predatory game scale, I'm giving Willow an 8 out of 10. Willow. Next time on Arcade Economy, we're closing out our run on fantasy-themed games with Gauntlet Dark Legacy. This is a game that Scott and I have been playing on our Monday live streams, and now that we've completed it, we're giving it the Arcade Economy treatment. So be sure to check back for that video.
This year we'll charge 20 minimum. What do I think?
Every supporter gets the chance to participate in content-themed polls.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not that sure about that area in terms of cost of living. So I don't know what the average person spends on food up there, because I live somewhere where I guess if someone like wanted something cheap for the day, even with all the inflation, they'd spend maybe $9-ish. So I'm not sure what the lower end where you are is.
So if there's any filmmakers out there who would like to participate in this, I will leave a link in the description. That'll do it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and hopefully you'll see me on my next video. So watching.
I think raising the prices will probably get you some good returns. The tourists, they don't care about prices. Do you think it's nice to do something like that? I mean, if they're tourists in the modern day, they probably don't care, because about the only people left who are actual tourists have so much money that it literally doesn't matter. So I guess you can kind of charge whatever you want if you're only trying to attract tourists. So I don't really think there's a issue there. Yeah, you should extract them for all they got.
Roku's self-serve ads platform. It's easier than ever with Ads Manager. Sign up today.
I guess I would say the only concern is volume, because tourism is it's a 2-week event. Okay, well, if your goal is 150K, I think volume would be what you need to worry about. there's only so many people who have the money to do that. So I guess the first day of the event, they all come in. They're trying everything out, so they don't really care about the prices. I mean, they're just, if you have something they want, they're gonna buy from you. Now that you say it's a 2-week event, right now we need to plan, because you obviously want them to come back if the event is that long. I'd say the next few days after someone's visited your spot, after the first day or two, I mean, they've told their friends where the good places are, and the individuals are now comparing each place both in price and quality. So you're setting your starting line with your price, so you can set it wherever you want. But then the next following days, you're going to be competing with all the other competition. So that's when it does start to matter, price and quality. So if you wanted to set it to 20, after like the introductory phase, you are now officially competing on quality against the other $20 carts. And so if you have confidence in the quality of your products, then I think you'll be fine. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if your competition's Gordon Ramsay, you might want to reevaluate. The same customer don't come back every day, though, only once in a lifetime. Geez, I guess y'all have like a lot of tourists then. If you're getting that many tourists that you're not that worried about repeat business, then yeah, do whatever you want. It should work out for you. But I don't know. I'm also just a weird person to ask this kind of stuff to. Because all the times that I've traveled, I just don't eat at any tourist traps. Like, I'm just someone who doesn't like busy places anyway. And I definitely don't like the prices. So I would rather literally, I mean, I'll spend money on stuff like dumb stuff like hats and stuff, but I'll literally just starve rather than buy from marked up carts. What? Some girl wants to call me tonight? He says it's not the right thing to do. Your dad seems pretty smart. It's not the right thing to do. Probably not. But on one hand, they're tourists, so it's kind of like who cares. But long term, yeah, it would screw you over. Because they will talk about places. They might not do it immediately, but it gets around. Which, I mean, plenty of places succeed, regardless if they're like stiffing people or not. So I guess at the end of the day, it's just a calculated risk. How bad do you need the $25 plates versus how okay you are with anything going haywire? I've had experience where I charge a lot, like 35 for an ice cream cone. My electrical equipment's right down. Yeah, if that's happened, I guess you didn't learn your lesson. I guess that's why they're giving you some visitations at night. They said, how many times do we have to teach you this lesson? But hey, you obviously want it. You said it's okay. I can deal with creepy, spooky skeletons coming to my dream space at night because I really need those $30 plates to sell. Well, you could just get a dream catcher. That might fix the problem. I like the winter, but I hate not working during the winter. What?
And does a fantastic job of intertwining classic beat-em-up tropes with, at the time, modern 3D fighting game mechanics. Run about free.
I think I need another slice of pizza or something.
They'll give you a credit for right. CDC, about 1 in 9 adults report experiencing memory loss or confusion. Will you remember these 3 words?
Because food trucks here only run during the spring, summer, and fall at the National Mall.
Boost your cognitive performance by up to 50% after just 4 weeks of daily.
How long has your dad been doing it?
This is a cranberry lemon.
You'll have 3 buttons to punch, jump, and kick. You can combine these with directional inputs to perform an extensive list of combos, special moves, dashes, and jumping attacks. Getting close to most opponents will initiate a grab, during which you can enter a series of button combinations to perform special throws, head sways, German suplex, and even a pile driver. Pushing punch, jump, and kick together at the same time allows for a spinning kick desperation attack that will cost a little bit of help. I tried to save this for situations when I became completely overwhelmed by enemies. Now there is an extensive list of items and weapons that can be picked up throughout the game too. Guns like handguns, machine guns.
He started as soon as I graduated from high school in 2012.
And they're incredibly fun to use. Anti-tank rifle, that's pretty awesome. Boom! Ammo for handguns and machine guns can also be stockpiled for when you run out. Throwable environmental objects like chairs, barrels, and a grandfather clock are scattered throughout each level. Melee weapons can be used to increase attack power and include brooms, fireman's axes.
I think you should follow your dad's lead.
To top it all off and make the game
He seems to know what he's doing.
you can use things like
And as far as I can tell, it seems like he's not getting nightmares.
Since side-scrolling is so and it does a damn good job of it. Each scene is played out in an enclosed area where you will have to eliminate all enemies before progressing to the next scene. Some transitions will include quick time events, and if done correctly, will completely eliminate some enemies without you having to fight them.
Oh my god.
Simply to avoid extra damage, so stay on your toes because they do live up to their name. They're also pretty funny when you fail. I can't. Oh god. Environmental hazards also appear across the game in the form of things like giant fans, a fire truck, and an annoyingly loud satellite dish. This game rocks. I was always aware of Die Hard Arcade, but I never really spent any time with it.
I told my family about my nightmares, and my dad said he gets them too recently. What? They're adding your dad into this?
The underground parking lot, the first floor lobby, the terrace, and the top floor again, which then culminates into a finale on the rooftop. Each stage ends with a big boss fight. The first boss is a biker named Hog. He wasn't really too hard. A couple of attacks with the hatchet did the trick. If you're able to hold on to some missile launcher ammo, that also helps. The second boss is a pair of robot turrets. This is Die Hard. It is Bible was in it. Yeah, you don't remember the part of the turret? The baby turrets? Yeah, that was definitely it's a big part. I tried getting up real close to attack them. There's a robot arm in this fight that you can pick up that works really well against them. It's no surprise that playing with two players is a lot easier than single player. Boss number 3 is Jocko, a hulking luchador, and this is where the difficulty really starts to ramp up a bit. If you're able to save up ammo, then I suggest using that on him. Also, be sure to use the throwable chairs before taking him on hand-to-hand. If you get too close without knocking him down, he'll either swing you around
Oh my god.
or pick you up by your neck and toss you. If you're unable to connect the full combo, he'll block and perform a spinning punch attack. Your best bet is to combo him until he falls and then walk away to avoid his get-up attacks. The fourth boss is actually two bosses, Mr. Oishi and Mr. Tubbs, sumo wrestler and an army general. In my experience, Mr. Oishi, assuming he's the sumo wrestler, was much harder than Mr. Tubbs. Oishi will block a ton of your attacks and will hit you with a devastating leg raise wake-up attack. So keep your distance and wait for the right moment. The final stage has 3 boss fights. The first sub-boss...
So there's this girl, and I believe she's a spirit, and I believe she likes me. Her mom prevents.
There were a ton of guns scattered throughout at the beginning of this level, so make sure that you use these items first. The next 2 fights are Fang, and he is extremely cheap. One kick combo from him can take away a good chunk of your health. He has a spinning kick attack that you'll want to jump over if you can. He also can call in his office furniture to take you out, jump across the room, and block a ton of your attacks. Unlike some of the other bosses, he is vulnerable to grapple attacks, so use these if you can. After you beat him, you'll make your way up to the rooftop where White Fang, now shirtless, wields an endless amount of
Prevents us from seeing each other in my mind and body. She talks to me. Is it her? Well, if you want me to look into something like that, we'd have to do that in a private session.
Entering in more credits, turning this game into an actual fighting game at the end. Scott and I played best 2 out of 3, and while I bested him in the first round, he beat me twice after, making me spend an extra 25 cents. Now to answer the question, how much did I spend to beat Die Hard Arcade? For these games, I play them on their default settings, and I set up a counter to increase every time I hit the insert point button. For Die Hard Arcade, that meant normal difficulty is 25 cents.
I don't have any money right now. I can promise to pay you, though. No, I can't operate off of an IOU, especially since the spirits keep hitting you over the noggin with lead pipes or whatever. You might not be around for me to collect.
spending $9.33 today. Spending $9 in 1996 would feel like spending $18.66 today. One of my few gripes about this game was how short it was. It took only 25 minutes and 30 seconds to beat, which factors out to about 17 cents per minute on 25-cent plays. The losses in this game were really hit or miss. I spent no money on Hog or the turrets, 50 cents on Jocko, 25 cents on Oishi and Tubbs, no money on Jack Fireman, 50 cents on the first wave paying boss fight, and an
I'm sure we'll have our time in the future.
bringing my boss to roll to $2.25 or half of my total spend. Now let's take a look at our two-player data, and when looking at this data, you will notice that you spend less money to beat the game. When playing with Scott, I spent a total of $3.25 or $6.50 on 50-cent clips. Now, adjusting for inflation and $3.25 in 1996 would feel like spending $6.74 today. For 50-cent plays, that would factor out to 13 for the beat. It took 31 minutes to beat with two players. So with the lower cost and longer time, this actually drops our cost a minute to just 10 cents. Two-player home data look like this: 25 cents on Hog, no money on the turrets, 50 cents on Jocko, 25 cents on the duo.
I'll talk to you some other time.
50 cents on Wei Fang, and 25 cents on the battle. And this brings the cost player total to just $2. The 25 cents was to putting a continuing to beat against him. So if we're just looking at beating the game without that way to beat him, it is 25 cents cheaper than what I had spent, bringing my two-player total really to $3. Now, please note that we didn't set up a counter for Scott, so this data is just reflecting that I spent while playing with Scott, so it's not our combined amount. And now it's time to bust up the predatory games and help to determine just how predatory I was in stealing your money. The game clearly saves you money when playing with Scott. Total cost does seem pretty low, but there's a little bit more.
I keep on running. Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you want to know if you're choosing the right relationship with Dalton. Going by your cards, the primary card you ended up getting was the Fool, which shows that you did take a bit of a risk, but it does seem to have paid off so far. Queen of Wands, being in reverse, does show that there is something lacking in the relationship in them. Okay, when they fucking shriek and mess up my audio recording, holy God. And then I have to do it all over again. Fuck. Okay, let me breathe. Maybe I just need a drink. So they're triggering me.
Terminator 2 is considered one of the greater action movies of all time. Midway anticipated movie success and jumped the chance to cash in before it was released in theaters. Using new trends in arcade gaming, Midway gave players a first-person taste at the war against Skynet. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Arcade Economy, the series where we dive into arcade classics and determine just how much they would have cost to beat at the time of release. In my last episode, we took a look at Konami's Aliens the arcade system. Today, we're continuing the trend of James Cameron adapted games and traveling to the future to take on the machines in 1991's Terminator 2. Was the cost of saving humanity in Skynet too high for your wallet? Well, we're not talking about it. In 1984, the Terminator
Hello, this is Shanoa. Now, regarding your question, you want to know if you're choosing the right relationship with Dalton. Going by your cards, the Fool indicates that you did take a risk to pursue a relationship with Dalton, but it does seem to have paid off for now. Queen of Wands signifies that even though there are lots of fun elements with Dalton, there is something missing in the dynamic, which points to the final card of Two of Swords, which shows that in the long term, this relationship will start to lose focus, which usually is not going to be a good thing since it can lead to things such as infidelity or discontent within the relationship and can cause a lot of other problems. Overall, I would say that you have chosen the right relationship with Dalton, but it will need some work. If you'd like to go into the details of what are the things you can work on with Dalton, as well as your compatibility, you can give me a call or send me a message.
in the arcade, but on home console ports as well. And as the quality of the Terminator films decreased over time, so did the quality of Terminator games. The Terminator games franchise would continue to churn out games after the 16-bit generation, but it's low, with a large number of releases receiving mixed to outright poor reviews. You can make it that far into the game. The first half of the game acts as a prologue to the movie and takes place in 2029, where the future world machines. Players will have to fend off and travel to Skynet's base of operations to send the T-800 back in time to 1995 when the movie takes place. The game picks up at the part of the movie where Sarah, John, and the T-800 launch their assault on Cyberdyne Systems, the very company responsible for creating Skynet. The game is played from a first-person perspective, and players take control of Arnold's character, the T-800 machine programmed to protect John and Sarah Connor. And if you're playing with two players, I just like to think of each player taking control of one of Arnold's arms. Makes sense to me, anyway. Your main weapon is a machine gun that fires automatically as long as you're holding down the trigger. For a little extra kick, a button on the side lets you launch powerful missiles in the future segments or fire a shotgun blast in the 90s machines. While your main gun does have unlimited ammo and you never need to reload, there is a power gauge that depletes as you fire. And if you let it overheat, your rate of fire slows to a crawl. You have to be strategic, firing in short, controlled bursts to keep the gauge charged. Each level is littered with pickups throughout, which include ammo for your secondary weapons, coolant to prevent your gun from overheating, shields, and even nukes that clear the screen of all enemies. At the end of most stages, you're scored on your performance, getting points for all the enemies you've destroyed and points taken away from human casualties. Your mission kicks off in the grim, skull-filled future of 2029. For the first 4 stages, you'll battle across a war-torn field, protect a refugee hideout from relentless Terminator attacks, and then hop in a pickup truck for a high-speed chase against hunter-killer aircraft. Your ultimate goal is to invade Skynet's central facility, destroy its main computer, and use the time displacement device to travel back to the 90s. Once you're back in the past, your first stop is the Cyberdyne Research Lab. If you manage to destroy every piece of equipment in here, the game rewards you with a massive point bonus, and you'll receive the good ending, if you manage to make it to the end of the game. After that, you'll have to fend off the T-1000's relentless pursuit in a police chopper and a tanker truck, all leading to the iconic showdown in the steel mill. Almost all of the 90s levels are impressively movie accurate. That is until you get to the steel mill and you're fighting off the entire night shift. A classic case of 90s game design logic. When in doubt, just add more guys with guns. Now, throughout this journey, the game has a particularly spicy mechanic. In the key action sequences like the truck, the helicopter and tanker chase, or the steel mill, you are tasked with keeping John Connor safe. So if he dies, the game slaps you with not only a massive health penalty, but you'll also need to replay that level from the beginning. It's a brutal game mechanic, and I get it. It was designed to keep these levels as tense as possible, trying to emulate the movement. But it's also increasingly frustrating, because these levels are anything but easy. For the game's boss battles, some levels did have bosses, and some entire levels felt like boss battles themselves. At the end of the first level, you'll have to face off against a ground hunter-killer, use any missiles you have to take out the 2 arm guns on the side, then focus on the top and make your way down. I'm considering the truck level a boss fight because of how insanely hard it is. This is level 3, and you'll have to protect John Connor as he drives a truck into Skynet's main base of operations. Flying hunter-killers will shoot missiles at the truck, while gold Terminators awkwardly run alongside and shoot you. If the truck gets destroyed, you'll fail the mission and have to start the level over again. This means your top priority is protecting the truck. When playing this level, I was mainly aiming at the hunter-killers and the missiles they were launching. If you have 2 players, you can probably have one person aim for the flying enemies, while the other one takes out the ground. But because I was playing by myself, I pretty much ignored the ground Terminators and just took the damage and loss of lives. You'll get bonus points if you can complete the level without the truck taking damage, which I don't really see being possible. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that most people never pass this level in the arcade, and to be honest, it gets unsurprisingly even harder from here on out. The next level is Skynet's base, and this one's a real doozy. At the level's end, you'll have to take on Skynet's security measures, a wall full of missile launchers, and endless enemies coming at you. Again, probably impossible to do this without losing a life, but the best method would be to take out the 4 corners of the door first. I hope you saved up some missiles because you're going to need them. The game treats you to a little bit of respite once you get to the Cyberdyne Systems level. It's definitely still tough, but at least it's not the truck or the Skynet security system, or what comes afterwards. The next level is similar to the truck, but harder. Sarah and John Connor have escaped Cyberdyne in a SWAT vehicle van, and the T-1000 is in hot pursuit. You'll have to fend off the T-1000 as he attempts to attack the van in a helicopter. One hit from the helicopter and the van will be destroyed, and you'll lose, having to start from the beginning with the level. Here was my first reaction to this. What the hell? With 2 players, I think this would be easier because one person beginning with the level. Here was my first reaction to this. What the hell? With 2 players, I think this would be easier because one person could keep their aim above the van while the other remains behind. But as one player, it was really hard. Oh my god! Best bet is to keep your aim diagonally over the van and immediately fire at the helicopter as soon as it comes into frame. I thought the sequence was over after this, but it's not. Hey! We did it! Oh, what the... After the helicopter is destroyed, the T-1000 comes back with a vengeance in an 18-wheeler. You'll need to fire at this immediately as it comes into frame, and take your finger off the trigger as he exits frame, allowing your gun to recharge. Otherwise, if he's able to ram the SWAT van 4 times, it'll be destroyed and send you back to the helicopter part, much to your chagrin. You're kidding me. You are kidding me. You're almost done, but the game does not let up in any way. The next battle is against the T-1000 in front of the liquid nitrogen tanker. I hope you've collected a bunch of shotguns.